Hello friends, my name is Mahesh Kulkarni and today we are going to learn that how to connect the PHP application to the MySQL database. Basically the PHP can work with MySQL using the MySQLi extension which provides the object-oriented as well as the procedural API, and the second one is the PDO, that is the PHP data object. You can use whatever you like because both the MySQL and the PDO they have their own advantages. The PDO will work with the different database system, whereas the MySQL extension work with MySQL database only. Here I am going to use the MySQL database, so I will use only the MySQL extension with object-oriented API. So let's see how to do it. Here I am going to use the Microsoft Webmatrix. To create a new project, just click on the file, new and empty site. It will display this particular window. Now you can see that the database tab is over here, so just click on it. Here you can create a new database, that is SQL Server database, MySQL database, etc. But we are not going to use it. We are going to create the database using the PHP programming. So I'm not going to use this feature. So return to your project, right click, select new file, PHP file, and I'm going to change the name over here, that is connectdb.php, and here I'm going to write the code to create the database, to create the table and perform the operations on table data. Now the first important thing, to create the database we need to connect to the database server, and for that purpose we require some parameter. The first important parameter is the IP address of the server on which your database server resides. In my case, the database resides on the localhost, so I'm going to specify the IP address as localhost. The second important parameter is the login credentials, that is the user ID and password. So here I'm going to declare the variable, and within that variable I'm going to store that value, and I'm going to pass that variable as a parameter to the MySQL extension object in order to establish the connection with the database server. So the first important parameter is the server, that is localhost in my case. So the second important parameter is the username. In my case it is root. And third important parameter is the password. Here I'm going to use the database which store on the localhost, so I'm going to share my password with you. But make sure that when you are using the database which is stored on the server other than the localhost, or you are accessing the database from any particular service, then do not share your password with anyone, just for the security reason. So specify the password, and the next, create connection. So to create the connection, I'm going to create the object of MySQLi extension. So $con equal to new MySQLi. Sorry, we are not going to use the MySQLi bind param, only MySQLi, and pass this parameter. So first important parameter is the server, then second important parameter is the username, and third important parameter is the password. So after creating the connection, we are going to check the connection. So how to check the connection? So we are going to use the same object, that is $con. Is it object oriented? So I'm going to use the arrow operator, connect underscore error. And if there is some connection error, then I'm going to display the message as connection fail. Connection fail, and then specify the type of error, that is $con arrow operator connect underscore error, semicolon over here, otherwise success. That is connected successfully. Connected successfully. Save the changes. Here one thing you need to understand, that the PHP is going to use the interpreter, not compiler. So this line, that is echo connected successfully, it will get executed only when the connection with the database is successfully established. So let's see. But before, I'm going to add the title over here, that database demo. Save the changes. Right, execute this code. To execute, just click on connectdb.php, right click and select the option that is launch in browser. You can see that the browser is open over here. Still executing. I don't know why it is taking some time. Okay, connected successfully. That means we have successfully established the connection with the database server. So now the next important thing, we are going to create the database by using the create database command. So here, in order to perform that operation, I'm going to write the create database command, and I'm going to store that command into one particular variable. So declare that variable as $SQL equal to, and within the double quotes just write the SQL command to create the database as create database, and then specify the database name. I'm going to specify the database name as PHP MySQL con. Specify the underscore so that we can understand this better, and execute the query. So to execute the query, I'm going to use the MySQL extension object, that is $con, arrow operator and query, and pass that particular variable, that is $SQL, and if it returns the boolean value as true, which means your query is executed successfully. So I'm going to display the message as database created successfully, otherwise there is some error. So else echo dot $con arrow operator error. So let's see. Just right click and execute. Launch in browser. Just close this tab. Executing. So you can see the message over here that the database is created successfully. So we are going to check whether the database with the name as PHP MySQL con is created or not. So open the MySQL database, that is command line console, enter the password. Now to list the databases, we have to execute the command as show databases. Now you can see that the PHP MySQL con, the database is created over here. Now connect to that particular database. So I'm going to write as connect PHP MySQL con. So I'm connected to the database. You can see that the current database is nothing but your PHP MySQL con. So after creating the database, I'm going to create that table. So I'm going to delete this query because we have already created the database, and here add one more variable as $database and specify the name as PHP MySQL con. save the changes, and also pass this parameter to the MySQL extension object, that is $database. So in order to create the table, I'm going to write here the create table command. So create table, table name as student, and then specify the parameter. So the first parameter I'm going to, sorry, not parameter, it is attributes or the column of that particular table, ID with the data type int and size 6. I'm going to use the auto increment. That is auto increment, and I'm going to specify it as primary key. So this auto increment, that means every time we are going to insert a new record into the table, it is going to generate a unique number. Now to use this feature, whatever the keyword we are going to use, that keyword are database dependent. Here in my case I'm going to use the MySQL database, so I use this keyword as auto increment. If you are using the Oracle, then you have to create the Oracle SQL sequences, or if you are using the database from Microsoft like SQL Server or MS Access, then in that case we need to use the identity and specify the two parameter, that is the starting value and increment by value. So we can say that this feature is implemented by the keyword which are database dependent. So specify the second column name as first name, their data type and size as varchar 20. So just copy it and I'm going to specify the another column name as last name with the same data type and size, and then email with the same parameter and size, and the last, that is registration date, and I'm going to use over here as timestamp. That means it will record the system database as well as time. So let me see whether there is any error or not. That is create table student ID auto increment primary key, then first name varchar 20, last name varchar 20, email varchar 20, and the last, that is registration date timestamp. So to execute this particular query, this logic will remain same, that is $con arrow operator query SQL, and if it returns true, that is the query is successfully executed. So we are going to change the message over here, that is table created successfully, otherwise error. So to display the message on the new line, I'm going to use the break tag. So let's see whether the table is created or not. So just right click and launch in browser. So it show the error that you have an error in your SQL syntax. Auto increment, I think the spelling mistake is over there. That is int 6 auto, that is auto increment and primary key. So the table created successfully. So let's check in the MySQL whether that table is created or not. So show tables, you can see that the table is created over here, that is student. So let's fire the query on that table, that is select star from student. You can see that the empty set, that means currently no record is present in this particular table. So our next task is to insert the record in student table. So we need to change the query that is insert into student. Here I'm going to insert the value only first name, last name and email, because the ID is auto increment and the last, that is the registration date, it is timestamp, so it will automatically fetch the system database and time. So I'm going to use only the column name as first name, last name, and the third one is the email, and specify the values. So the first value, that is first name as Mahesh, then last name as Kulkarni, and the third, that is the email. So I'm writing Mahesh at gmail.com. So this is the query: insert into student, specify the column name, that is the first name, last name, email and values. The value should be written within the quotes over here. So to execute the query, this logic will again remains the same, just we need to change this echo message, that is record inserted successfully. Record inserted successfully, otherwise error. So execute it, just close this previous tabs. You can see the message over here that the record inserted successfully. So let's check in the console, fire the same command, that is select star from student. You can see that the record is inserted, ID auto increment 1, first name Mahesh, last name Kulkarni, email mahesh@gmail.com, and the registration date, that is the system date and time, it is automatically fetched and inserted into the table. So the next operation is the update operation. So here the first name is Mahesh, so instead of Mahesh I am going to write it as Manoj, that is I am going to perform the update operation over here. So just change the query as update student, set first name equal to Manoj, where ID equals to 1. Update student, set first name equal to Manoj, which is specified within the single quote, where ID equal to 1. To execute the query, again the logic will remain the same, just change the echo message, that is record updated successfully. Save the changes and execute it. Here you can see the message that the record is updated successfully. So let's check in the database. Previously it was Mahesh. Now execute the same query, that is select star from student. You can see that the first name will becomes Manoj over here. Previously it was Mahesh, right now it is Manoj. So now the next operation, that is the delete operation. So here again we are going to change the query, that is delete from student. Here I am not going to specify the where clause because only one record is present in the table. So to execute the query, that logic will remains the same, change the echo message, that is record deleted successfully. Execute it, right click, launch in browser. Just close the previous tab. You can see the message that the record is deleted successfully. So check in the database. Again execute the same query, that is select star from student. You can see that the empty set, that means only one record were present in the database. Now currently it is deleted, so the table becomes empty. So in this way we can create the database, create the table and perform the operations, that is the insert, update, delete operations on that table. Now once you are done with the operation, so the last we need to close the connection. So to close the connection, use the same operator, that is $con, arrow operator and just use the close function. So in this way we can close the connection and display the message as echo connection close. So in this way we can perform the operations and we can connect our PHP application to the database. Thank you for watching.